The Shipman's Tale. There was a merchant in St. Denis once, who being rich was held to be no dunce. He had a wife, unusually fair, one of a gay, companionable air, a thing which causes more pecunial dearth than all the foppish compliments are worth that menfolk offer them at feasts and dances. Such nods and becks and party countenances pass as a shadow passes on a wall. But woe to him that has to pay for all. The silly husband always has to pay. He has to clothe us, he has to array our bodies to enhance his reputation, while we dance round in all this decoration. And if he cannot pay, as it may chance, or won't submit to such extravagance, thinking his money thrown away and lost, then someone else will have to bear the cost, or lend us money, and that's dangerous. This noble merchant kept a splendid house, and all day long so many guests there were, for he was generous and his wife was fair. You would have been surprised, but to my tale, his guests from up and down the social scale included a young monk, well-made and bold. I judge he was some 30 winters old, and he was always visiting the place. Now this young monk, with his delightful face, was on such friendly terms with this good man, ever since their acquaintance first began, that he was welcomed as familiarly as it is possible for a friend to be, and for as much as this good-natured man, he and the monk of whom my tale began, were born in the same village, the monk stated. That they were cousins, very near related, the claim was neither questioned nor withdrawn. Both were as glad of it as bird of dawn. It pleased the merchant's heart, and his compliance had furthered this unbreakable alliance, and each was happy to assure the other he always would regard him as a brother. This monk, Sir John, was very free in spending, whenever he stayed there, carefully attending to what should please. He poured out tips like wages, forgetting not the meanest of the pages, about the house to each in his degree. Master or man, he gave a gift or fee, whenever he came, some honest kind of present, and so, to them, his coming was as pleasant as sunrise is to bird upon the nest. I must have said enough, so let it rest. The merchant, as it happened, one fine day, began to make arrangements for a stay, somewhere near Bruges to further his affairs, and buy a fresh consignment of his wares. And so he sent a message thereupon to Paris, and invited good Sir John down to St. Denis, so as to give pleasure to him and to his wife, and spend his leisure with them agreeably a day or two before he left, as he would have to do. For Bruges, this noble monk I am describing was glad enough, and needed little bribing. He saw his abbot, and he got permission, being a man of prudence and position, in fact, a superintendent, one to ride, inspecting abbey granges far and wide. Off to St. Denis then, the monk has gone, who was so welcome as my lord Sir John, so full of courtesy and cousin mine. He brought with him a jug of Malmsey wine, and also one of sweet Italian juice, with these a brace of birds, as was his use. And thus I leave them at their meat and drink, merchant and monk, a day or two, I think. On the third morning up, the merchant gets in serious thought about his needs and debts, and up into his counting house he goes to reckon up, as you may well suppose, all the past year and how things stood with him, what he had spent, how the accounts would trim, and whether his business had increased or not. Many a ledger and money bag he got, and laid them out upon his counting board. He had a deal of treasure in his hoard, and so he locked the door with an abrupt command that no one was to interrupt. His casting of accounts he worked away, sitting up there till past the prime of day. Sir John had risen early too, to go, into the garden, walking to and fro. He said his office, courteous and devout. This excellent wife then stealthily came out, where he was walking softly in the sun, and greeted him as she had often done. A little girl was there for company, beside Herr, under Herr authority, still subject to the rod. Her mistress said, "Ah, my dear cousin John, what, not in bed?" And never breathe a syllable or tell, a living soul, not though I went to hell, not on account of cousinship, but just out of affection for you, love the trust. And having sworn, they kissed to seal the oath, and then conversed as impulse prompted both. "Cousin," she said, "if I had time and space, and I have none, especially in this place, I could unfold a legend of my life, and what I've had to suffer as a wife. As for my husband, though he's your relation—" "No," said the monk, "by God and my salvation, cousin indeed, he's no more cousin to me than is this leaf here hanging on the tree. I call him so, but by the saints of France, I do so only for a better chance of seeing you, because I love you dearly, above all other women, most sincerely. I swear it you on my profession, love. Tell me your troubles while he's still above. Quick, don't hang back, and then you can be gone." "Oh, my dear love," she answered, "sweet Sir John, I hate to tell you. Oh, if I was stronger! But it must out. I cannot bear it longer. My husband is the very meanest man, to me at any rate, since the world began. It's unbecoming, since I am his wife, to tell a soul about our private life, whether in bed or any other place, and God forbid I sank to such disgrace. I know a wife should only speak in honour about her husband, or else fie upon her. Only to you, the only one on earth, this much I'll say, God help me, he's not worth a fly upon the wall, in no respect. But his worst fault is niggardly neglect. For you must know that women naturally need to have 60 things, the same as me. They want to have their husbands to be candid, sturdy and prudent, rich and open-handed, obedient to their wives, and fresh in bed. But by the Lord that died for us and bled, by Sunday next, if I am to look smart, and do my husband honour, I must part with, well, 100 francs, or I'm undone. Far better not be born than to be one, that people slander and say cheap things about. Yet, if my husband were to find it out, I were as good as lost. Ah, don't deny. Lend me this little sum, or I shall die. Sir John, I say, lend me these 100 francs. Trust me, I will not fail you in my thanks. If only you'll oblige me as I say, I'll pay you back, and you shall name the day. And if there's anything else, some little task, that I can do for you, well, only ask. And if I don't, God send as foul mischance to me as fell to Ganelon of France. The monk gave answer in his well-bred way. My own dear lady, I can truly say, I weep in sympathy for what I've heard, and here I promise you and plight my word, that when your husband has gone off to Flanders, I will deliver you from fear of slanders, for I will bring you down 100 francs. And on the word he caught her by the flanks, and clasped her closely, giving her a riot of kisses, saying softly, keep things quiet. And now let's have some dinner, if we may. My dial says it's past the prime of day. You'd best be off, and be as true to me as I to you. God forbid else, said she, and off she went as jolly as a lark, and told the cooks to hurry off the mark, so that they all could dine without delay. Up to her husband then she made her way, and boldly knocked upon the counter door. Quila, he said, it's me, dear. How much more have you to do up there? She said. And fasting? How long will you be reckoning up and casting all those accounts of yours and books and things? The devil run off with all such reckonings. Heavens, you've had enough of it, my own. Come down and leave those money bags alone. Aren't you ashamed to leave that poor Sir John fasting all day while you go on and on? What? Let's hear mass and then go in to dine. Dear wife, he said, how little you divine the complicated nature of affairs. God save us all, of such as deal in wares. There's hardly 2 of us, as I'm alive, not 2 in 12, I say, can hope to thrive, till they retire, showing a steady clearance. All very well to make a good appearance, to drive about the world and make a mark, but our affairs must always be kept dark, till we are dead, unless we are to play at pilgrimage and keep out of the way of creditors. It's vital to consider this curious world and find the highest bidder. There's always chance to fear, and many a slip makes for anxiety in salesmanship. I have to go to Bruges at break of day. I shall come home as quickly as I may. Therefore, dear wife, I beg of you to be courteous and meek to all in place of me. Look after all our property with care. See to the house, here's plenty and to spare. Govern it well, I'll see you have enough. But still, be thrifty over household stuff. You've all the clothes you need and all the stores. I'll put some silver in that purse of yours. And with that word, he shut the counter door and came downstairs. He lingered there no more. Quickly they all went off to mass and prayed, and quickly too the tables then were laid. The merchant and his wife attacked the spread. Sir John the monk was sumptuously fed. Soon after dinner, soberly, Sir John took him aside, this merchant, and went on to say as follows: Cousin, as I see, you're off to Bruges for some commodity. May God and St. Augustine be your guide. Now do be careful, cousin, how you ride, and moderate in your diet. In this heat, you should be temperate in what you eat. Well, don't let's stand on ceremony. Goodbye. Dear cousin, God protect you from on high. And if there's anything by night or day that I can do to help you, only say, command me, and whatever be the task, it shall be done exactly as you ask. Oh, one thing, may I ask you as a friend, before you go, could you contrive to lend 100 francs, just for a week or 2? I have to buy some cattle to renew, a farm of ours with animals and stores. So help me God, I wish the place were yours. You may be sure I will not fail my day. Not if it were 1,000 francs, I say, but please tell no one of this little debt. You see, I haven't bought the cattle yet, and now, goodbye to you, my own dear cousin, and for your kindness to me, thanks a dozen. This noble-hearted merchant thereupon replied, Good heavens, cousin, dear Sir John, this is indeed a very small request. My gold is yours whenever you think best, and not my gold alone, but all my stuff. Take what you please, be sure you take enough. Of course, I hardly need remind you now, we merchants use our money like a plough. We can get credit while our name will run, but to be short of money is no fun. So pay me back when you've the cash about. Meanwhile, I'm very glad to help you out. He fetched 100 francs out of his trunk and handed them in secret to the monk. So secretly the deal was only known to him, this merchant, and Sir John alone. They drank and talked and loitered for a spell. Sir John rode back then to his abbey cell. Day came. The merchant started on his ride to Flanders with apprentice as his guide, and came at last to Bruges in good condition. Once there, he worked in haste without remission, and did his business, borrowed, made advances, and never turned aside for dice or dances, but purely as a merchant, let me say. He spent his time, and there I let him stay. The very Sunday after he had gone, back to St. Denis came the good Sir John, new tonsured and with freshly shaven face. There was no little boy in all the place, nor any other person, it was plain, but was rejoiced to see Sir John again, and to go shortly to the point indeed. This lovely woman readily agreed to take his 100 francs and to requite Sir John by lying in his arms all night, and just as was agreed, so it was done. All night they led a life of busy fun, till dawn came up. Then, with a kindly laugh, he left, wishing good luck to all the staff, for not a soul, there or in town about, had formed the least suspicion or slightest doubt of what had happened, homewards or where whim directed, off he rode, no more of him. This merchant, having finished his affairs, turned for St. Denis, thither he repairs, and cheers his wife with fun and feast and such, but said his merchandise had cost so much that he must needs negotiate an advance, for he was bound by a recognizance. For 20,000 crowns he had to pay. He'd have to go to Paris the next day, to borrow certain sums among his friends, which, with his ready cash, would meet his ends. No sooner had he come into the town than, out of pure affection, he got down and called upon Sir John for simple pleasure, and not at all to claim the borrowed treasure, but just to see him, ask how he was doing, and tell him what affairs he was pursuing, as friends will do on their occasional meetings. Sir John was most effusive in his greetings, and he as blithely chatted back and told how prosperously he had bought and sold, thanks be to God, in all his merchandise, save that it was incumbent to devise the raising of a loan at interest. That done, he could afford to take a rest. Sir John replied, "Indeed, I am delighted that you are safely back with matters righted. If I were rich, we all have ups and downs. You should not lack for 20,000 crowns. You were so kind to me the other day, lending me money. All I have to say is many, many thanks. God give you life. But I returned the money to your wife, the sum you lent, and put it in your till. At home, she'll know about it all. She will, for it was all arranged by double entry. Now I must go and leave you business gentry. I have to join the abbot here today. He's going out of town. I cannot stay. Best greetings to my pretty little niece. Your wife, goodbye, dear cousin, go in peace. Let's hope it won't be long before we meet." This merchant, who was wary and discreet, soon managed to negotiate his loan. The bond that he had signed became his own, for he paid down the money to a franc to certain Lombards at their Paris bank. He left as merry as a popinjay, for home his business done in such a way that he was bound to make, to the extent of fully 1,000 francs more than he'd spent. His wife was there and met him at the gate, just as she always did, and they sat late that night and had a feast. He did not fret, knowing that he was rich and out of debt. At dawn, this merchant started to embrace his wife afresh and kissed her on the face, and up he went and made it pretty tough. "No more," she said. "By God, you've had enough." And wantonly she gambled for a while, until at last the merchant with a smile said, "I'm a little cross with you, my dear, though I am loath to be so, never fear. Do you know why? By God, or so I guess, you've brought about a sort of awkwardness between myself, I say, and cousin John. You should have warned me, dear, before I'd gone, that he had paid you back my 100 francs. By double entry, it was little thanks he gave me when I spoke of borrowing money. His face showed plainly that it wasn't funny. But all the same, by God our heavenly King, I had no thought to ask for anything. I beg you not to do it any more. When off on business, I must know before. If any debtor has paid you back my pence, unknown to me, in case your negligence should make me ask for what's been paid already, so far from being frightened or unsteady, this wife retorted boldly thereupon, then I defy that treacherous monk, Sir John. Him and his entries, I don't care a bit. He gave me a sum of money, I admit. So what? A curse upon his monkish snout. God knows I had imagined, out of doubt, that he had given it me because of you, to spend on looking smart, on what is due to your position and the friendly cheer you've always shown him as a cousin here. But now it seems that things are out of joint. Well then, I'll answer briefly to the point. You've many slacker debtors than myself. I'll pay you readily, and as for pelf, if that should fail, from sunset to Ree Valley, I am your wife, so score it on my tally. I'll pay you back as promptly as I may. I promise you, I spent it in the way of pretty clothes. It didn't go in waste, but I assure you, in the best of taste, to honour you. For goodness sake, I say, don't be so angry, dear. Let's laugh and play. My jolly body's pledged to you instead. By God, I'll never pay except in bed. Forgive me, dearest husband, just this while. Turn round again and let me see you smile. This merchant saw that there was no redress, and that to chide her was but foolishness, since nothing could be done, and was content to say, well, I forgive you what you spent, but don't be so extravagant again. You must economize, let that be plain. And now my story's done, and may God send us plenty of entries until death shall end us. Amen.